Thank you so much for joining me today, Tatiana. Long time no speak.
Thank you, Mark, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure for me. We haven't talked since, it's been at least a year and a half since this whole pandemic thing began. You're no stranger to our international audience. In fact, the word international pretty much defines you. You are CEO of Lima Grain Cereals Research based in Colorado. And you also lead Lima Grain Cereals Research Canada. Prior to that, you're at the helm of Lima Grain Field Seeds in Europe. Now, I understand you just got home from France. Obviously, traveling during this whole COVID situation has been a challenge for everybody. At first, none of us were really able to travel at all. And now restrictions are loosening in some parts of the world. And so we're finally able to travel again to certain places, etc. How have you managed to operate during this whole time in a role like yours, where you're really based internationally, Canada, United States, Europe? How have you managed to navigate all that?
Well, thanks to new technologies like Zoom and Teams, we could have organized a lot of meetings, and sometimes it was more meetings than before. But also after firm lockdown last spring in the US, I would say till end of May, we started to travel. We actually couldn't postpone some important meetings and events, and we had too many things ongoing in the US. So launch of coaxium trade in the Central Plains and also Pacific Northwest. It was difficult not to travel. So we haven't had like big field events, but we met with people who feel comfortable to meet with us. So we organize more like individual tours. And I also succeed to travel to France for meetings in October and February, and just recently in June. And I can tell you that I never saw so many people in the Denver airport as I saw like 10 days ago when I took off for France. It was a big, I would say, reopening of travel in the US, and the people are starting to travel, and I guess they will travel for a certain period of time more than they have traveled before. But we will heavily reconsider, I think, many meetings what we had before in person, and maybe combine some of them with some Teams or Zoom meetings in order to be more efficient.
Yeah, I think we've all learned to use the new technology over the last year and a half. So that's why we're able to do what we're doing today. I'm actually up here in Canada and you're in the United States. So it's great to have technology like this to be able to connect. The future is looking brighter every day now that we're turning the corner on the COVID situation. But I'd like to back up a minute and talk about your early life. Now, you grew up in Ukraine and spent a lot of time in your father's laboratory. He was a physics scientist. And after school, you would go to his lab to do homework because it was quieter and easy to concentrate. And that was sort of how your love of science and agriculture started. Can you tell that story for us?
Yes, sure. Well, I was always a good student, so I liked a lot biology, chemistry, physics, math. And I was looking and wondering what kind of profession I have to choose, that can combine all these things together. And, after a while, I would say agriculture, it was an obvious choice. So when I was in agriculture university, I met a lot of kids, farmers' kids who studied together with me, and I was fascinated by this mindset, simplicity, and openness of people who work in agriculture.
Fast forwarding to 2015, the collapse of the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire took place. You were leading Lima Green Field Seeds at the time, and you were in charge of two teams that worked side by side, Russians, Ukrainians. When the conflict started, those teams could no longer be in regular contact. You couldn't see each other in person. Flights between the two regions were canceled. That would have been a huge challenge for you. And I can't imagine how difficult that would have been, what your team must have gone through from a purely emotional perspective. What leadership lessons did you learn from that you carry with you today in your current role?
Well, it's true that it was really difficult. Um, we used to have team buildings together. We had many meetings and leadership teams, in between two teams. Well, after a military conflict has been started, it was compromised. I succeed to maintain peace and good friendly relationship in between two teams. We even maintain our team building together in summer 2015, just before the military invasion started. We didn't really have any issues. So I had a strong message to my team about politics and perceptions of reality. We always find the information from media, from TV, and make ourselves some sort of image or imagine the reality, which is not always true. So my always strong message before we start any kind of meeting together, you have to put your beliefs and your political conventions or considerations inside of the box.
Well, that brings us to where we are today. You've moved to Lima Grain Cereal Seed and Lima Grain Cereals Research Canada, and you're now putting those two North American Lima Grain subsidiaries on the map. Can you give us the 411 on Lima Grain's North American cereals operations and what's coming down the pipe?
Well, we have three breeding programs in North America. So one in Central Plains focused on hard red winter wheat, one in PNW, which focused on hard red winter wheat, but also soft white winter. And we have one in Canada, which primarily focused on spring wheat. So our main breeding focus is yield stability, protein content, and traits. So we have already two major traits in our breeding program. So high amylose wheat, it's a health benefit trait with it's basically wheat with a high fiber content. So we have coaxium trait. It's group 1 herbicide tolerant trait, which brings some flexibility and wheat management for growers. So, and we are very proud to deploy high amylose wheat in the market because it's bringing a major health added value to society, reducing the sugar content and increasing fiber content in the conventional cereal products. So basically, it's a frame in which we are operating.
Well, you're actually undergoing a strategic restructuring at the moment, which frees up some resources to help Lima Grain Cereal Seeds enhance its wheat breeding programs. Tell us about that and what you expect to come out of it.
Well, we decided to close last December our breeding program in the east of the United States. The reason was that this market lost a lot of wheat acreages. And wheat in this region is not anymore the major crop. It has been replaced by soybean and corn in the Midwest, and in the South, that was replaced by cotton. So we had very strong competition from these crops. So we closed this program. We postponed the breeding for a time being of soft red winter wheat. And we utilize these resources to enhance our breeding programs in Central Plains with hard red winter wheat, in the PNW with soft white winter, and also Canada. So we will enhance our breeding techniques, to introduce more traits, into the germplasm, and also breeding programs with modern technology like molecular markers and rapid cycling. So today, our Canadian team, which is primarily supporting us for rapid cycling program, is capable to do 6 breeding cycles per year with embryo rescue technique, and we are very proud of this. So 6 breeding cycles in spring wheat.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about technology in general is it allows us to do more every day. And so that's one of the things I definitely love about agriculture. What does the future hold for wheat, in your opinion? Because we have all these new technologies now, and people are always speculating about the future of wheat, herbicide tolerance, hybrid wheat, the list goes on. We all like to peer into our crystal ball and imagine what could happen with wheat in the future as a crop. For you, what's most exciting about Lima Grain's North American wheat program, and what could come out of it in the future as you peer into that crystal ball that you no doubt have in your office, as we all do?
Well, you're right. Herbicide tolerance, hybrid wheat, high fiber wheat is already ongoing process for us. So we try to look beyond this level and imagine what kind of future the gene editing can bring to us. So what can be the added value for the grower? I guess the new disease tolerance trait with the yield stability is a must-have for the future with a quick climate change. So we have less typical years. We have more and more unpredictable growing conditions, and it's our enemy number one for the future and for the security of food supply.
Yeah, I just did an article on it was hybrid wheat actually, and yeah, it's amazing to think wheat is. I mean, despite being such a huge crop, wheat is one of those ones where there's so much potential, really, when you think about it, right? Because we have crops like canola and soybeans and all these crops that have had the benefits of those technologies in recent years, and wheat is really one where I think really the sky is the limit, and so it's exciting to think about what might be coming in the future. Thank you, Tatiana, for your time today, and it's great to chat with you, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Mark. Enjoy your week as well.